Hello, and welcome to Recapping with Delora
and Ashley.
Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Recapping Podcast.
Also, rate, review, and subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast platform. We're on all the things.
We want to hear your thoughts on the movies and shows we review.
Leave us a comment on Apple Podcasts or our YouTube channel, and we will read them during the show.
Or reach out to us on social media. We love talking all things entertainment and pop culture with you.
Thank you guys so much for listening.
Thank you. Bonjour, Ashley.
Girl, you know how to speak Spanish. So, je m'appelle Ashley, I guess is the most I got for you.
We are back in Southern Gothic, Louisiana to talk about the second half of the acclaimed AMC series, Interview with the Vampire. We will be discussing episodes 4 through 7. Again, this is a Southern Gothic horror vampire drama. It is a grand total of 7 episodes, rated MA. It is now available on Netflix. It originally became available October 2nd, 2022. And you know what? The general summary, because I'm not going to read this from the beginning, is Louis is trying to find his way as a vampire, and he is meeting with renowned journalist Daniel Mowley to tell his story. This is different from the 1994 series, so this is like a redo. In the first conversation, we talked a lot about truth and reconciliation. Like, what is true? What is not? And I feel like we kind of started to get an understanding of like, is Louis the most reliable storyteller, Ashley?
No. We don't know Louis beyond his own perception.
Yes.
And so he could be lying about everything. Essentially.
He just seems more sincere this time, right? And that's
he's a vampire. I don't know. He is a predator.
This is why Daniel is really important, I think, which made this show as good as it is. You know, Daniel is a no-nonsense journalist now who's not afraid to ask tough questions. And we get a lot of that in this part too. But before we get into the spoiler alerts, let's talk about Rotten Tomatoes. Critics gave this show 98%, 79% from the audience, the general audience. Google users gave this show 84%. Ashley, what is your grade for the interview with the vampire?
My grade's still an A. Hasn't changed from part 1. Still think it's a fantastic series. The actors made these roles their own, especially coming off the heels of having superstars who kind of portrayed this in the previous iteration. It's fabulous.
It is fabulous. It is so well acted. Like I was saying in our conversation last week in Headlines and Hot Topics, you can see the care, the money, the talent, the time that went into the series. And it's just so lush. It's so good. And it got you wanting more. That's for sure. I will highlight that we do have the Claudia at the end of our recap last week. Claudia, we knew her as Louis' redemption, and this character is played by Bailey Bass. Let's go ahead and get into the spoiler alert. Episode 4, the ruthless pursuit of blood with all a child's demanding. Claudia's transformation into a vampire teen completely changes Louis and Lestat's lives. As Claudia asks more questions, Louis and Lestat are forced to confront questions about making a teen vampire. Claudia learns dark realities of her new life. Man, oh man, I remember growing up hearing about the 1994 film and how it was a big deal that Kirsten was playing this role. And what's interesting is in the book and in the movie, this character is like 5 years old. But in the series, they decided to make her a teenager. What did you think about this choice, Ashley? Do you think it was a smart one, or do you think it added more to this particular story?
Yeah, I mean, I think it helped to push the drama a bit because as a 5-year-old, even when she aged, it would have been very weird for a lot of the choices that she made and a lot of the I mean, because Claudia is not a wallflower, right? Like Claudia is
She
a
is
very
not.
big personality and she challenges both Lewis and Lestat in very important ways in this series in this adaptation. So for her to have only been 5 would have been odd. So I'm glad that they aged her up. And how miserable would it be to be turned a vampire at the age of 5 and be stuck? If 14 was bad, 5 would have been like unbearable.
And I think, again, comparing the film to the show, they showed us Claudia's hunger, but I feel like in the show, I was like, oh no, 2 bodies a night? Like what? For eternity? We got some problems. It reminds me of Urkel. Did I do that? Looking at Louis. Like she was like, but I'm hungry. I'm like, sis,
She
what?
had no shame in her game.
Why should she? Kids don't have shame. You have to learn shame, Ashley.
Very true.
Do you feel like looking at Louis and Lestat's relationship, do you think Lestat did this to keep Louis? You know how people have babies to
Yes,
stay together. Do you feel like this is
absolutely.
the case?
I think that Louis wanted her for his own reasons and Lestat begrudgingly agreed, right? Because he didn't
Yes.
want Louis to be upset and, not help her and then cause damage to their relationship, which is funny given everything that actually transpires inevitably. But yeah, he definitely did it to make Louis happy. And, Louis was going through his own ish still with his family and his grief over his brother and, trying to figure out his place in the world as this vampire. So, as he said, she was his salvation because she gave him something to like focus on in his life again.
I love how unserious the show is because one of my favorite lines is where they were talking about her skirt. He was like, "Oh, I don't like that skirt." He was like, "It's chiffon. It has movement." I'm like, "I love y'all so much." The other part that had me cackling, Ashley, is when they were trying to find her very own coffin. And she, again, no shame. She was like, "Oh, this is comfortable."
You
And
know what I
Louis is over here talking about, "I'm sorry. She has a heart condition."
you know what I thought about in this scene with the coffins? I was like, where does this come from? Because as long as y'all have some good, drapery, why do y'all have to sleep in coffins? Is it just like a security measure in case somebody were to do something and open the blinds and the sun is out? Like what? Like y'all could probably sleep in the bed, right? Right? Is it just me?
I think the idea is to hide from the sun, right? And what better way to do that
But if
than
you have
to
good curtains, do you really need to sleep in coffins? Maybe I'm thinking too deep, but it was like one of those parts of vampire lore when I was watching this time. I was like, y'all have very nice decor. Get you some thick curtains and drapery, and you can sleep in the bed. But coffins it is. Because there's not that much room in there either.
no, there isn't.
Especially when Louis and Lestat be in there
They be doing too much. I'm like,
in them
there's
little
no way.
coffins.
There's no way that's a real thing. Like, where's the space?
Ain't nowhere even to float, you know?
So we talk about Louis being an unreliable narrator. Do you trust Claudia and her journals?
I think Claudia feels much more honest in her likely retelling of things. And especially because it's happening in the moment. It's not a recall. She's
Mm-hmm.
writing it as it happens. So she does feel like a more truthful narrator, and she's young. So she has
Yes.
no reason to manipulate it because
No
she's writing it
pretense.
to herself in her
Yes,
journal.
that's very true. And Claudia has a very significant situation happen in this episode. Years have passed, and she's just curious about being a woman. And she finds her first love, and she accidentally kills that boy.
Poor Charlie.
I was sad for her, but then I'm not. Like, I have to admit, shout out to Bailey. She had her ass off in this role. I think the role was just so fantastic, and she was able to show the naivete of youth. And then as we get further along in the season, you see the maturity of someone who's well read and things like that. So Sis has the range, but Claudia as a character, I don't know if it's because she's such a serial killer. Her feeling bad for killing that boy. I'm like, have you ever shown restraint? Did we not think this was going to happen? Like, I don't feel sorry for her. I'm like, this is inevitable.
Oh, I
What
still
did you
felt
think?
bad. I felt bad. She's a baby vampire. She's a baby in life. She was what, 19 when that happened. And so I did feel
No,
bad.
younger than that. I think on the show she's supposed to be like 15 years old.
No, at the point that she was with Charlie, she told him she was 19,
Oh, yes,
and
correct.
which was
Yes.
probably true in
Yes.
vampire years or whatever. But yeah, I still felt bad because I think, she wanted so badly to have that companionship that, she ended up doing some other crazy stuff. But I did feel sad, especially because of how hard Lestat was her on her about it. Like, he
Mm,
made her sit there and watch his body burn. I'm
yep.
like, you are psycho.
I don't think so. It's like these are the consequences of your action. You can't just run away from it.
No,
Yes.
that's
Yes.
intense. Because it
Um,
wasn't, her intentions were not to kill him. So to make her sit there and watch is torture. It wasn't like how she's so reckless with other humans and just will kill indiscriminately. She really liked this boy. So I mean, she still has feelings. And I feel like this, to me, it was cold to do that to her.
I hear you, but I don't know. I can't say I disagree with Lestat in this one instance because Lestat is not above reproach, as we all know. I thought was interesting. In the 1994 film, Claudia realizes that she can't cut her hair. As soon as she cuts her hair, it grows right back. With Claudia in the series, they decided to demonstrate this through her virginity. And I was like, yo, this is a choice. But I think in some ways it does have a larger impact. What do you think about that?
Again, I'm glad she's not 5 because I do feel like the character in the film with Kirsten Dunst felt younger. She looked younger. She had the
Yes.
ringlets, all of that.
Yep.
Whereas this version of Claudia, yes, she can play young, but she also could look more mature because of her styling and everything that they allowed this actress to have. And she does also have beautiful curly hair, but it's natural curly hair, right? So and I think it's fitting for the tone of this, which sex is a big part of this series, even
Yes.
down to Louis being, a pimp. So it felt fitting.
What did he say? His industry was pleasure. You're like, no, sir, you were a pimp.
Yep.
Let's go ahead into episode 5. A vow hunger for your hammering heart. Claudia's activities and curiosities present continued challenges for Louis and Lestat. Her actions light an explosive fuse that erupts at the episode's end. I alluded to this previously, but Claudia is a bona fide serial killer. I mean, she has tokens and everything to the point where she had like this dead man, half dead man in her closet. because the cops snooping around. I just was like, are Louis and Lestat bad parents, or is she just really good at sneaking?
I don't think they're parents. That's the whole thing, right? Is they're not, I don't think they're fully equipped to parent a child. Nor did Lestat ever want to, right? So, and she also, I mean, she's sneaky. Teenagers are sneaky, let alone a teenage vampire. So, how can you control that?
That's a great point because I think they are definitely demonstrating her rebellious age, right? Like, how does a fledgling vampire act out? They, again, the way that Daniel was like, oh, it was like mass murders. Like, how did she hide them? And you find out that she wasn't hiding them well. They call her out on it and she gets upset and she runs away. And it broke Louis in a very visceral way. Like he legit kind of gave up. Like the house is messy. I'm surprised Lestat just, sat there. I mean, she was gone, I think they said for 7 years.
Yeah, 7 years.
So I was just interested in this phase of their relationship because essentially Lestat just let Louis sulk. And he was just like, you still ain't up? Okay, well, off I go. How do you view Claudia's rebellion against Lestat's control? Do you think her rejection of the family structure is justified?
I mean, sure, she tolerates Lestat. She loved Louis, but again, there was just a lot that she was dealing with and processing. And she even said, who's my Louis? Who's my Lestat? I think she
Yes,
needed more exposure. She was turned so young. She had come from a fairly abusive situation in her human life. So I just think she needed to spread her wings a little bit and see a little bit of the world and have a better understanding of herself and of, what she wanted and what she didn't want. So, I mean, this is what people do when they go to college. Hence, she went to college,
she
essentially.
did. Searching for more like vampires like them, I think is interesting because Lestat is so secretive whenever you ask him about like his
His
maker or
past.
other vampires. And so essentially he leaves Claudia and Louis in the dark. And I don't think that's fair. And I feel like obviously he's so of himself that I feel like he's unable to empathize, but he is also a vampire. Like, do we expect empathy? I mean, Louis is the exception to the rules. And even then, you could see how much Louis is the exception to the rules because I feel like Claudia takes on Lestat's behavior way more than Louis.
For sure.
But to your point, in her going the way she went to college, she learned a lot. There was this man that she encountered that they alluded to abuse from, and I'm pretty sure he's a character in another one of Anne Rice's books. I'm not familiar with like the Anne Rice universe. When preparing for this recap, I found out that the guy that was following Claudia, she was going to different, colleges library, and the doctor that takes care of Daniel Malley while he's in Dubai, who's like, you don't see me, you can't hear me. These are prominent characters in other Anne Rice books. So, the more you know. So I just thought that was interesting.
So
Ashley,
Bruce, the rapist, is in the Anne Rice universe.
he is.
Wow.
Yes. Ashley, I don't even want to talk about this because I don't even know where to start. This fight at the end of this episode with Lestat displaying powers that Louis didn't even know he had, such as flying. The way Lestat beat down Louis is, I don't know. I say that I'm lost for words because I'm like, he kicked his ass. And for what? Just because she came back and asked him to go up away with her? Like, I don't believe the way Lestat reacted was justified. I don't think any abuse is justified, obviously, but he just went ham, Ashley. I don't know what else to say about this fight.
I think had I not seen the villainy of Lestat before this project, maybe I would not have such animosity towards him even before this happened. Because I said in the first part that it's easy to forget that Lestat is a villain. And this is one of the biggest factors of his villainy, in my opinion. If Louis had not been a vampire, he would have murdered him.
Yes.
He still could have murdered him even as a vampire, but I guess essentially held himself back out of so-called love. But this was horrific. This was a horrific beating of somebody simply because he felt that Louis did not love him the same way that Lestat loved him. That is insane. That is narcissistic. That is abusive. That is inexcusable. I hate Lestat. There was no redemption that could come after he did this to Louis for me. None. I don't care if we're supernatural creatures. I don't care if Louis could take it because he can heal. You are a monster. And you deserve everything that comes to you after this.
How does this episode reveal the limitations, the stats, mentorship, and care for Claudia and Louis? And the reason why I brought this up is because it's like we spoke to the fact that he's still hiding himself. He hasn't taught them anything really in terms of like his powers, in terms of his past, and whether or not there's other vampires like they are. And if so, where are they? And he's threatened one time and beats the living sugar honey iced tea out of Louis. I'm like, limitations. I'm like, they're grand. They're vast.
It's not even, he wasn't even being threatened. What he was is fear of being left, fear of abandonment, as if Louis owes him his life. You know, like, I don't care about Lestat. Like, I have to be honest with y'all. In this project, I think this actor played this role phenomenally. But if you talk about a character I could give two shits about, it's Lestat.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
I mean, the way he dropped Louis from the sky, Ashley.
Beyond that, he was dragging him by his neck before that.
Girl.
Like, y'all got to be kidding me. This is still domestic violence.
And
it's not okay.
And then we get into episode 7, where it's all love bombing.
I mean, it's scary to me. I had just finished watching Reasonable Doubt season 2. Come on.
Oh, I didn't watch that yet.
Domestic violence is a big factor in the new season.
Episode 6 is all about love bombing. So episode 6, like angels put in hell by go. What are the titles of these episodes? Okay, like angels put in hell by God. Okay. Louis and Claudia continue trying to include Lestat as a family member, but after Lestat interferes too many times, their endurance is pushed to the limit. Essentially, this episode, Louis is doing a lot of healing after that beating. Like, he had to recover. I think it's also interesting because in this episode with Claudia's return, there's a level of maturity about her that's so noticeable, that it's like, oh no, this is a woman and she's taking care of her stepdaddy, Louis. And her mind is made up when her mind is made up. And I'll get to the delicious part very soon, but you definitely see her, one, trying to encourage Louis not to take Lestat back. And we know that doesn't happen very long, unfortunately. Lestat makes his way back. He slivers his way back into their
I
Louis's
mean,
good
6
graces.
years is a while. So
In Vampire World,
I'm just saying, it's six
she
years is
was
a
gone for
while. I
7.
get it. 6 years is a while. It is.
But I put in my notes is essentially a civil war between Lestat and Claudia. I mean, she is out here, like I said, she's a well-read woman, and it's just different things throughout this episode that you just see her pushing and pushing. It's like the chess games, and it's the conversations, and I loved it personally.
Oh, I love the
um
chess game when she got under the skin when she beat him and then she didn't finish and he went nuts. I was like,
yeah,
"See, you're a psycho."
he is. In what ways is Lestat's love for Louis presented as toxic and abusive in this episode? I'm curious if you have any specific examples, Ashley.
His pure presence. What are we talking about? Like the fact that he ever had the audacity to try to issue this whole series of mea culpas, the gifts, everything. What was his ultimate purpose, right? He hasn't changed. He tried to say he had changed. He didn't change. It is what every abuser does.
Yeah, he lied about his side piece, Antoinette, talking about, oh, I'll kill her. That didn't happen.
Cut that girl's
Uh
finger off.
I did enjoy Lestat's character immensely the first half of this series. I really was done with him after he beat the shit out of Louis. After that, I'm just like, what are we doing now? And then comparing that to his character in the film, I don't feel like Lestat was that cruel even in the film. Like he was flat out a bad guy. We understood that. I think a lot of that was because they didn't convolute the relationship between Louis and Lestat with love. I feel like them flat out calling out love in this series automatically makes the relationship dynamics complex. We always talk about power plays, right? Can someone who have the power of knowledge in years and the ability to make and break you, can they actually truly love you, or are you just a toy?
Yeah.
Are you just a toy?
Yeah, it's very
So,
complicated. I never felt like Lestat, even as much as he claims to love Louis, loved him. But I think it's complicated because love is complicated. Like, even in human to human relationships, do people love you or do they just want to possess you? Um,
ooh.
could
But
be
I will
argued.
say, with them being entities of darkness, they don't know love, right? Like, if we go to just like our faith in general, the idea of love is good, love is patient, love is kind. Like, can things made out of darkness have that bit of light? And I think the answer to that is technically no. So,
Yeah, but for me, it's not that black and white the way that I feel about these characters or even vampire lore in general. Like, I think there are some vampires that can turn off their humanity, and I think there are some that retain it. And Louis is definitely one that I think retained his humanity and I think continued to have a heart. Whereas I think the thing that I question about with Lestat is I don't think he does. I don't think he operates out of the same level of like purity of intention or like goodness that Louis does. So that's why I don't know what his feelings truly are. I think Louis is capable of it though. I even think Claudia is capable of it, as crazy as Claudia is. But Lestat is just, at least at this point, like I said, if we're talking about not interview with the vampire, we're talking about Queen of the Damned Lestat, that's a different person for me. This version of Lestat, he feels way too far gone and has probably experienced too much to still have that, if he ever really had it once he turned, level of goodness about him.
yeah,
What
well,
type of vampire do you think you would be?
I don't know. I'm trying to think about vampires in media and if there were any that I like. I think I if I could be a vampire, I definitely would like to lean into like the sexy, sensual side of things. But like in terms of my diet, am I gonna be like, oh my goodness, I don't want humans? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'll keep a human as a pet or something and just
Oh, kinky.
I'm just joking. I really don't. I don't know. Actually, it's so funny. I do have a fun question like that. And give me your answer, and then I'll give you my question that I think is funny.
I don't think I would be a vegetarian either, like Louis is. Like, I think, and I caveat, I say that because as a human being, I'm a carnivore. So in my mind, I don't know if as a vampire, I would deny what I feel like is natural to me either.
Yeah,
But I think
exactly.
the difference with that is I've never been an animal. Whereas if I turn into a vampire, I've been a human. So then to start preying on other humans and taking their lives, and knowing all the complexities that come with that, I don't know. I get what Louis has said before about like every kill isn't the same. Some are more theatrical. Like, yeah, you may do it out of necessity, but do you enjoy it? You know what I mean? Like, there are layers to it. So I don't feel like I would necessarily be like a crazy, let me rip your flesh off type of vampire. But I also don't know if I could have the restraint that Louis has, where it's like, I'm just about to eat these rats and these fish and these birds.
Yeah, I
I probably
agree.
would chow on a human every now and then and try to mind my business otherwise.
Yeah, because I legit was wrecking my brain of like vampires in media. And obviously, Twilight comes to mind, True Blood comes to mind. Obviously,
Yep.
these vampires.
I
Who
would want to be
else?
like the one lady off of Death Becomes Her. I know she was not a vampire, but
You
like
know, that's who I was thinking about. I
I
was thinking about
want
her
the outfit. Yeah,
sensuality.
I want the
I want,
men. I
yes,
want the
yes, yes, yes.
house.
Yep. She had Tom, Dick, and Harry doing her bidding. Um,
Or Akasha. Okay, Aaliyah. Akasha.
Yeah. I
Hot.
have to rewatch that movie. I remember watching it and not enjoying it. So I
Oh,
have to revisit that.
I loved it.
Who do you think may be a vampire in real life?
Um,
This is all for fun, y'all. This is, allegedly.
I'm just trying to think of her name. It's the one actress who never ages.
You
Bianca.
talking about Beyonce's
Bianca,
sister?
ex
Yep.
stepsister. But yeah,
Yep.
I think Bianca could be a vampire. That woman hasn't aged in 20 years.
I think of Pharrell personally.
Yeah, for real too.
He's on my list.
Great skincare.
Amazing. Apparently, he talks to artists about keeping their skin together, and I'm like,
Where's the skincare line? For real, people would buy it.
I would take everything he has to say to heart. Everything. So in this episode, Claudia tries to convince Louis to leave Lestat. And that was unsuccessful because Lestat found them. And she was like, you know what? That's good. That's okay. We gonna kill him. I was like,
Off
yo,
with his head.
she was so dead ass. I think this is what I think I started liking Claudia because she's matured. She is playing chess, not checkers. She was like, Louis, I need for you to wake up, son. Wake up.
I
This is
love
an
how
abusive
smart
relationship.
she is. Like, I
Yes.
love how smart Claudia is. Like, for
Yes.
one, she doesn't have emotion clouding her judgment like Louis does.
Yes.
But
Yes.
also, to your point, she can stoop to Lestat's level, right? Like, she's
Yes.
like, to beat Lestat, you got to become Lestat, baby.
I'm not afraid to spill the blood.
Yes.
Let there be blood. I am
Yes.
telling you. Episode 7, The Thing Lies Still. In the season finale, Claudia's plan to kill Lestat is so secret, even Louis is not in on the details. But is Lestat one step ahead of her? I like this episode because it talks about like how do you kill an immortal? And so here are the ways: starvation, drinking from the dead. I thought this was an interesting one. I don't really remember that in like vampire lore. Fire and chopping off one's head. In this episode, you know, it's the season finale. So what do? You either have a wedding or you put on a big ass party. And
Facts.
boy, oh boy, did they have a time. A time was had, Ashley. What did you think about their costumes? The all white get up.
I thought it was great. Very timely for Halloween for me in my mind, but also to wear white to offset the actual
Yes.
evil that's
Yep.
coming, to portray purity when we know they have bad intentions.
Absolutely. Actually, one of my favorite memes that are out right now is when they are all in their white, but they have the red blood all over them, showing their fangs. They were like, they were like, September 31st is like all prim and proper. And then October 1st, the fangs come out. I love that meme.
I just realized when I have my hair curly, I'm gonna get for next Halloween, wedding dress, fangs, blood. I'm doing Claudia. I've just decided. Because that scene
Yes.
was dope. That scene was dope.
So dope. At this point, there is some, city politics, but they're all pawns in this game for between Claudia and Lestat. And as I mentioned in the summary of the episode, even Louis doesn't know what's going on. Do you think it was smart for Claudia to keep her plans close to the chest?
Absolutely. She knew that the games were afoot. Absolutely.
So right before the big finale, Louis and Lestat have their dance. Do you think this was necessary? Like it's giving that final kiss. What they call that kiss from Godfather? Is it the kiss of death?
Yes. Yes, the kiss of death. Theirs was a little more passionate than, thankfully, the
Yes.
Godfather, because that was his brother. But yeah, I mean, what I loved about this is it bucked the norms of what was expected, because men are not, homosexuality is not supposed to happen. It's against the law. Everybody had already been speculating all these years anyway as to what they were up to. So
Mm-hmm.
I love that it was like a slap in the face to them. And then also, yes, this was like a goodbye for Louis and Lestat in terms of what their relationship has been, because Louis knows like this is it. So love you. Gotta kill you. Get my freedom.
Claudia's ultimate plan was to poison Lestat by drinking blood from the dead. I think it's interesting because in the middle of all this mayhem, freaking Antoinette comes out of nowhere. And we find out that she is officially a vampire. And she was out here spying on Louis and Claudia, which proved that Lestat did not trust either one of them. So I'm just like, this is a house of lies. Nobody can trust anything.
They were playing chess.
They were definitely playing chess. But at the end of the day, Claudia, I played all of them. Lestat is poisoned and Louis slices Lestat's throat. But what I don't understand is like, why didn't they put him in the fire?
Well, this was the tension, right, between what his version of events was versus what Daniel surmised from Claudia's journal. That's why, again, it's like I appreciate Daniel's pushback for sure, because Daniel's like, she would have been ready to throw his ass in the fire. She ain't had no hesitation. It was you. And then we see the actual reality of him pushing her up against the wall, saying, "No, we're not gonna." But he knew exactly what he was doing. He went far, but he didn't want to kill that man. So I was disappointed to a certain extent because after everything that happened, I felt like Claudia deserved that kill.
She did because she earned it.
Yeah.
She earned it at that point.
And then if Lestat don't die, you know that means you're sealing Claudia's death, right? He may spare you, he ain't gonna never spare her.
Never, never.
So I felt some type of way about that for sure. But I also want to say the first time I watched this series, this was so intense. I fast forwarded because I had to know what was going to happen. I was like, what? It's just so intense. What's happening? And so I fast forwarded it and then I went back and actually watched it in real time. It was a very intense final scene. And I just knew, like, oh, Lestat ain't about to go down like this. Ain't no way. So the fact that he
No.
didn't fight back, I was shocked. I just knew he was about to muster up some type of strength, snap Louis' neck, do something. I just knew it was coming. I was like, oh my God, what's about? He has another trick up his sleeve. So I was shocked that he didn't. It's like, on Scream, when you think they did and they come up one more time. That's what I thought was going to happen.
Not one more time.
That's what I was waiting for.
Obviously, Lestat is not dead.
Boo.
Boo. But you know what is on and popping? A 500-year-old vampire named Armand, who was literally under our noses. We made the assumption that he was Louise, in some ways, caretaker, right? Like
Servant,
someone,
employee.
servant, employee who knew all the secrets of being a vampire, but kept it close to his chest. No, that's his boo.
He upgraded.
The love of his life, by the way. I mean,
Let's talk about the glaring differences between him and Lestat, right? For one, temperament. You can tell off the bat that his temperament is
light
way
years.
different than Lestat, right? But
True.
you could also tell that at least for now, it seems like it's a healthier dynamic in that as old as Armand is, which he's 500 some years old,
Yes.
he's not holding that dynamic over Louis' head because of the fact that he would even agree to play this role while Daniel is around. And how much does he just do this out of a sense of caretaking in general? So I was here for it. I was like, all right, let's see what Armand and you have been up to these last few years together. But also my thought after watching today was, does Louis really love him? Because we already saw how he had to, grab on to Claudia really tight because he was missing his family. Did he do the same thing when Claudia inevitably probably is going to get killed and not having Lestat around? Did he grab tight on the Armand out of a sense of loneliness, or does he actually love him? These were my thoughts today.
How do you think Louis' handling of Lestat is going to impact his relationship with Claudia?
He sealed her death. Like, there's no way you let Lestat live and Lestat is not going to come find you and kill her. There's no way. Even if he slow goes it, you sealed her death warrant by not burning him. And I feel like Claudia had to know that too. So
I feel like in some ways, Claudia ended up maturing a lot faster than even Louis in some ways.
Louis was so vulnerable in such a
Yes.
different way.
Yeah,
When
that's
he got
true.
turned, it was so complicated. And Lestat mind fucked him hard.
Yes. I mean, the century level of manipulation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. Would I have been able to make it out? I don't know. I'd like to think I would. I think I would be a Claudia in that situation.
Don't we all hope to be?
Ashley, do you have final thoughts for Interview with Vampire Part 2?
I think I'm gonna start season 2 tomorrow, bro. Like, I just I gotta keep
It's
going.
so good. It's so good though.
Yeah.
It's like, What's gonna happen? Oh, so is there any hopes or anything you'd like to see in season two? There is also notably an actress change. So the lady who plays Claudia
I know.
changed. There, it's not very clear on why Bailey wasn't able to do it. People assume that it may be due to scheduling because she is also in the James Cameron
Avatar.
Avatar series. So I mean, she's hella talented. She's getting work.
I'm sure them James Cameron checks are nice too.
Listen,
Um, I want to get a better understanding of Lestat's backstory in this iteration. So I hope we
okay,
get some good flashbacks and better understanding of his life and things and his background. I want to see Louis and Claudia continue to bond and see how their life and travels unfold, what they discover, and then give me everything you got on Armand. Give me everything you got.
everything.
Give me everything
Okay,
you got. And then I
he
hope
was
there's some
not
fun
great in the movie.
surprises.
Yeah,
I
Armand.
vaguely remember him in the movie. I don't remember him enough to taint this version of Armand. I don't remember enough.
Um, I have high hopes for the series version, but in the actual movie, Antonio Banderas was a bad bitch one. Okay, like gorgeous hair. I mean, but besides him being extremely good looking, I didn't like his character at all. He was very wishy washy. And because of his actions, it's actually what drove Claudia to her death, frankly. So that is why I'm like, I don't know about all this, but you know, I'm curious on like how many seasons we gonna get and how long the story is gonna go. But it's so well made, and like I said, I've truly enjoyed it.
Indeed.
All right, time for hidden gems.
All right. I mentioned this last time, just kind of a throwaway, but I'll make it an official hidden gem. It is Girl Haunts Boy on Netflix because
We
it is
watched it.
the week of Halloween that we are
Yes,
talking to you guys. And I thought it was really cute. For one, even though he is too young for me, Michael Cimino
he's
is
so
beautiful.
beautiful. He's beautiful.
He's beautiful.
Yes,
So anything
yes.
he's in, Love Simon
He has
or
such a
Love
sweetness
Victor.
about him
Love Victor for
too.
him. And also he was in Never Have I Ever, the last season that just aired. He's just,
Yes,
yes, put him on my screen. And then Peyton List is in this as well, who you guys may know well from Cobra Kai and her Disney days. She is a ghost in this, and he is a teen grieving the loss of his dad. And they form a bond after they move into the house that she is essentially haunting. And so it's one of those again that's like there's some romance to it. Um, there's some lighthearted moments to it. It's some teen angst in it. But ultimately, I thought it was an interesting watch. And then I shockingly have gotten into a series, ABC series, Dr. Odyssey, starring Joshua Jackson and Don Johnson. They are on a cruise ship. Don is the captain. Joshua Jackson is the doctor on the ship. And there are two other nurses that he is on the ship with. And each episode is themed. Like one episode was a singles week episode where singles come on and have their shenanigans. Another episode was plastic surgery week where a bunch of plastic surgery patients came on. It's just they keep it interesting in terms of
and
the activities going on the ship. And then I enjoy Joshua Jackson. I always have. And I think the ensemble cast is has good chemistry together. And I'm just really enjoying it. Like it's very light, you know what I mean? Like it's a light watch, but I found myself like, okay, let's move on to the next episode. And I've stuck with it. So I've been watching it on Hulu, but it is an Apple or not Apple, an ABC series, and that is Dr. Odyssey. What about you, Delora?
thank you, Ashley. I have three hidden gems this week. So the first one is not hidden at all. It's Inside Out 2, available on Disney Plus. I talked about this in our last episode. I was not ready. I was not. I thought, oh, what more could they say? The first movie was cute. This second movie had me bawling my eyes out. It is just so well done. It literally spoke to me. And I joked, but I'm serious. I was like, I need to start journaling how I feel about like all the things that this movie brings up. I mean, it's just done so well, Ashley. I talked about this in the last episode. It's like they talk about the emotions, but now it's like these emotions turn into beliefs, which makes up your sense of self. And it's just, I can't tell y'all enough how phenomenal this freaking movie is. It better win an Oscar because the way I had a stream of tears going down my face in the last like 20 minutes of the freaking movie. Talking to anxiety. Woo! Woo! Check it out, y'all. My second hidden gem is not quite hidden either. Also available on Disney Plus. It is Agatha All Along. We recap WandaVision in, I believe, our first year of the podcast. Phenomenal show. Phenomenal show. Phenomenal recap, if I do say so myself. And so for this to be an extension of that, it's very entertaining. I am not done with it. I think the final episode is not available until when this comes out, the week of Halloween.
I'm gonna have to borrow your login for this, Delora. I got sucked in when I was in Florida. They had Disney Plus. I watched the first 4 episodes. It was so good.
Yes, it is.
I've been trying to piggyback off of somebody's Disney Plus ever since.
Thank you, Disney, for our future logins. Okay. And my final hidden gem. I've talked about this YouTube series in the past. It's called Chicken Shop Date. I think the ones I've highlighted are, my favorite one was like Keke Palmer. Well, move over Keke Palmer. Andrew Garfield has entered the chat. I have never cared this much about I've never been this invested in a parasocial relationship. No. The interview is a mixture of awkward flirting, but it's like, are they, aren't they type of deal. Because let me tell you, their interactions leading up to this particular date is a thing of legend. So shout out to all the romance girlies, because the first time they met, he was like, oh my goodness, I love your show. You're great. And then I think by the second time they met on the red carpet, he was talking about signs. And he's like, I think, oh boy, your sign, I might be obsessed. And he was like laughing, holding on to her hand and that microphone. All of those things matter, right? To now, they finally had this date. And he's talking about, I think we should do this again without the cameras. And I am just giggling and kicking my feet. And apparently everyone else is. And, I was invested long before this became a thing for everybody had something to say about it in the media. I'm like, is it a slow news week or something? We got more.
I don't know. I've seen it everywhere though.
I know. It's just like, I don't want to be that person where it's like, I was there first though. You know what I mean? Like,
it was a slow news week though. Let's be for real. It was.
It was.
Because I was about to put Erica Mena and Safari on our list just because it was so slow.
Don't do it.
You see, I didn't. The episode was clean, but I almost did. I was like, what else is there to talk about?
I'm teasing, Ashley. I'm teasing. There have been weeks where it's like we're scraping at the bottom. You know what I realized? I'm like, maybe we should just have like a general pop culture question we answer or something in those weeks.
That's why I asked about projects. Projects is always something to talk about.
Top 10 vampire films, go, or projects. I don't
But I
know.
named 10. I don't know if I have 10 in me.
No, I'll give you
I could do
5. Did
5
you
is
do
fair.
Vampire Diaries?
I was a
I did not.
huge Vampire Diaries fan at one point.
I did
Yes.
not. I
Team
didn't do
Stefan.
that. But you didn't do True Blood.
I did get into True Blood eventually.
You did. Oh, I am
Yes.
definitely a True Blood. Definitely. I actually that was our first series together.
Yeah, it
We
took me
went
a little
like,
bit because I didn't care about all the other supernaturals at that point. It was kind of, and True Blood, to be fair, was very dark. Uh,
oh,
very
dark and
dark.
sexy and violent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when those vampires die, gross.
Yep.
So, yeah.
What we have Twilight. I went ahead and texted Ashley and just told her, hey, guess what? We're gonna just do Twilight next year. It's bound to happen. But yeah, I think that's all I got for Vampire Project though. Those are my hidden gems, y'all.
All right. Very nice. Well, guys, it is officially the week of Halloween. Okay. I have partied over the weekend. By the time this recording comes out, I'm sure it was awesome. But the week of Halloween, you guys enjoy, have some fun. I hope you have some fun costumes, eat some good candy, live your best lives. We're getting close to election season, so enjoy these carefree moments. Okay. Thank you guys so much for listening to this
Yes.
episode. We appreciate it. Please share with everybody you know. We will be back. But in the meantime, as always, be blessed.
Bye.